Friends, there are no good and bad people. There's only people. There's only humans. And we all have good to us and we all have bad in us. We all have positive traits and we all have negative traits. We are all constructed with the same DNA. We all possess the DNA to murder someone. We all possess the same DNA to create amazing, great acts. But we've become, in our society that has just been a race against the clock caused by technology and stress and fear and anxiety and depression, we've become very rigid in our thinking. And so the other day I was somewhere, was at a place that I frequent, and the woman who supposedly is part of a higher conscious community, I walked in and she was telling me about someone else that was there. And she said, "Oh, she's good people. She's like us." And I said, "Well, we're all good people." And it has stuck in my craw ever since, because it is people who know better, right? Who are doing the work of higher consciousness, who think that they're on a journey, and they are on a journey. We're all on a journey, right? And this virus that has impacted our society is in them too. When we get to a place where people who know better about what the human is really capable of and the God within, people that know better are off the cuff automatically in their unconscious program labeling they're like us, meaning there is of them, or they're good people, meaning there are bad. Houston, we've got a problem. And it's not just in Houston. It's in us. It's in you. It's in me. It's in every one of us. And it makes sense how we got here when we look back at traditional science and Newtonian physics and the industrial age from 400 years ago, where we began. You know, Newton came up with certain scientific principles, and marketers took those principles and they applied it to everything, to our mindset, to our relationships, to every last thing. And those principles have to do with, you know, things like the law of gravity, which is, they're very, you know, that's what he was most known for. That is very black and white, right? If you jump off a cliff, you're going to fall like a lead balloon. That's going to happen, right? But it negates all of what we now know around quantum physics and that we are all one and the way that energy works. And when you look at that classic scientific paradigm of the last 400 years, reductionism, you know, which says we can take everything and we can reduce it down. You know, if we understand each individual part, then we'll understand the whole. Determinism, if it's predictable and controllable, then we know exactly what's going to happen and how. Not really. I mean, that's not really how life works, right? Separatism, right? Everything is like separate pieces that are coming together to build. They're like building blocks. And it's created this mindset in us of that we are separate. I'm separate from you. There's him, there's them, there's us. It's a very damaging paradigm that we're living with. Realism, you know, which says that, you know, the saying, you got to see it to believe it, right? It means that unless you can show it to me, unless I can see it through my 3D eyes, which we know are so biased and so many things, unless I can see it physically, then it doesn't exist. And we know that that's not true anymore. We know that to be true, right? That's been proven. And yet it's so wired in this idea of competition, you know, it made us believe that the universe is this predictable, rational, separate thing. And now we are all walking around with this defunct operating system and unconscious virus in us that is causing us to be separate. And I can't tell you how many times I hear things like that being said, or I read them, or I see them on social media, where people are saying things like, we are the good people, you are the bad people. And in this era, right now of just so many heated things happening in our society, it's worse and worse and worse. It's so important that you begin to understand that we are all one, that when we dissociate from the parts of ourselves that are like the parts of ourselves that we're seeing in people that we don't like, we're not being honest with ourselves. We're causing separation inside of us and fueling it in the world. So understand that I am you and you are me. And that means whatever I see in you or you see in me that you love and idealize and put on this pedestal, because I, did that a lot too, right? This person's so amazing. They're so much better than me. All of that is in you. All of that's in me. And the same thing is true when you look at someone and say, oh, well, that's just a bad person. That's just a bad apple. Or I can't believe they did that. That is in us too. I was a psychotherapist for many years, and I had the occasion to sit with people who beat their wives. I sat with a guy once who murdered someone. He was a convicted felon. I sat with people who, by all accounts, people would say, oh, that's just a bad apple. And I will tell you, there's never been a person that I have sat with, not one, that I have not been able to see myself in, that I've not been able to empathize with. All it takes is trying. The humanity is in every single one of us. And when you begin to accept that and begin to really peer inside yourself and look at the parts of yourself where you're making these judgment calls on other people, you will find that you're making them on yourself as well. You're saying, oh, this is good that I did. This is great. And this is terrible. This is awful that I did this, or that I thought this, or that I felt that. Oh my goodness. That is so damaging to do to your poor little self, right? When we're doing it to other people, it just means that we do it very harshly inside ourselves, which is even worse. That's not how we elevate our society, and it's not how we live a life of ease and flow and to our greatest potential. So take some time. If you hear yourself, these words coming out of your mouth, if you find yourself feeling separate, whether you think that you're so good or whether you think you're so bad, hold yourself accountable. That is an old paradigm. That is a brainwashing that we have been living off of. The media continues it. It goes on and on and on in every facet of everything that we see in society. Let's not be the people that contribute to that. Let's not be the ones that fuel that. Let's be the ones that elevate consciousness. Let's be the ones that turn the mirror on ourselves, that look inside and say, where am I being duplicitous? Where am I judging myself? Where am I falsely inflating myself? Where am I judging other people? Where am I falsely inflating other people? It's 50-50. The universe is 50-50. 50% positive, 50% negative. However much darkness, there is an equal amount of light. And that's true of every single person you meet, of everyone out there, and also true of yourself. And even if I'm wrong, and there are truly good people and bad people, even if I'm wrong, is that belief really serving you? Is that belief serving us? Doesn't mean that we have to leap into relationship with people who are not showing great behavior or who, are not trustworthy or won't take, certain, you into account or whatnot. We don't have to leap into a relationship with them, but we can have compassion for those people. We can say broken people hurt people, hurt people hurt people. We can see ourselves in them if we try. And the more that you do, the more honest life you're living, and the better energy you're going to clean up in your field. So the more you're going to bring to yourself. If you liked this video, please like, please subscribe, please share, please comment. I'd love to hear more.